The honourable member for Calgary Fish Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government continues to make a mess of our health care system. Now it's the people versus parking. This government has announced another parking fee increase on Alberta patients, despite the fact that year after year, Alberta Health Services fails to meet its own pathetically low targets, while executives continue to drive up the cost of health care system with outrageous expenses like video games or butlers. With this in mind, how can the Premier possibly justify nickel and diming vulnerable Alberta families with another parking fee increase?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, the honourable member conveniently ignores the fact that Alberta Health Services has the lowest administration cost of any health delivery organization in Canada at 3.3%. I'm personally very proud of that, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member should also know that Alberta Health Services charges parking fees on a cost recovery basis only for its facilities. Mr. Speaker, these are reasonable changes made in a reasonable way with full notice to Albertans. They reflect a commitment to value for taxpayers that we see throughout our healthcare system.
Honourable member.
What the minister should know is what they use the parking fees for, and that's Calgary Lab Services also. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The fact is AHS collected $61 million in parking fees that come straight out of patients in the pockets of frontline workers. Now, given the fact that over 26,000 managers at AHS spent over $100 million in 17 months alone on questionable expenses, does the Premier really believe that parking fees is the problem to health care?
Mr. Speaker, what's shameful is the premise of the question. The suggestion that the organization has spent $100 million on executive expenses, on frills, is actually not correct, and has been very well documented by AHS and in the media. Mr. Speaker, the vast majority of these expenses are spent in services that directly benefit patients, travelling of healthcare professionals across the province, procurement of supplies that are used in services such as home care, many other services that Albertans depend on. Mr. Speaker, this member needs to check her facts.
Honourable members, let's be a little bit respectful of both the people asking the questions and the people answering them. Some people may not like to listen to the questions, others may not like to listen to the answers. But we have a large number of guests up there who might be interested in both. Let's be respectful of them as well. Honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the fact that AHS executives feel they are entitled to $500,000 in performance failure bonuses, how do you think Albertans should feel being nickeled and dimed with more fees when those in charge of the healthcare system continue to use it as their own personal piggy bank?
Honourable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are very proud to have a board at Alberta Health Services and a chair who has in the last several weeks spoken extensively about the board's plans to reduce administrative expenses furthering their position as the lowest in the country. Mr. Speaker, the board has talked about plans to revamp management positions in the organization, to look at issues such as compensation compared to other jurisdictions across the country. Mr. Speaker, this is a board that is clearly focused on improving value for taxpayers' dollars, and to suggest anything less is a disservice to this health system as a whole.